down here, but the ones back over here is a big bunch right around the hill, but you go right straight down. Don't go past the corner, go around the hill. That's where the big bunch is.
Okay.
Yeah. Used to be the Witt farm, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex and Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry.
Johnny, or Alex is dead.
Yeah.
See, and Jerry, of course, was a friend of my wife years ago, or Marty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
See,
sure.
Jerry Marty,
sure.
see, she was Geraldine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, today we're going to talk to Eunice and Lester Witt. These folks I've known almost longer than I care to admit, but it's been about 40, 45 years, I think. And they've lived down here in the valley. And Lester, where were you born then?
Where?
Yeah.
Over here in where Helmers, near the place over here, right over here. About half a mile from here, so you see I never got very far.
Okay, Eunice, where did you?
I was born in Dutch Hollow down here right below the hill where the cemetery hill is.
Okay.
Back in the across the road there.
All right, on the left?
Yes, it's
On the
no,
left.
yeah. No, on the right.
On the right.
The right. The right as you're coming down Dutch Hollow Cemetery.
Well, these people should know Dutch Hollow as well as anybody in this area. And I've known them a long time, and we've been friends, and it's kind of nice this afternoon to take a few minutes and sit. And like Albert said, or like Lester said the other day, I usually don't take much time to visit, so we had a good visit the other day in his garage.
Yeah.
Now, your father was Albert. Albert.
Albert.
Now, I remember him yet. Now, originally, he was he a dairyman then? Did he?
Yeah,
He
so
was.
we milked all it.
You milked. And when did you switch over to beef?
Oh, what was it?
When we moved over here, we never had beef over there by Albert Witt's
No.
farm. It was over here when we bought the next Acre farm.
Okay, this would have been in the 50s probably. Huh?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Well, these people know a lot of history in the valley, and a couple of questions I'm going to ask you, and is right away we're going to talk about Schultz's Crossing. Your mother was a Schultz. She was a sister to Roy Schultz, who used to run the cycle shop in Monroe, and so there's some history that comes into my out. First, say where it affects me. When I was a boy and went to high school, us country boys had to have a place to eat our bucket lunch at noon, or sack lunch. So we'd go down to Roy Schultz's and get a wooden cartridge box and sit down and eat our lunch and buy candy bars.
Shotgun shell
And
box.
shotgun shell box, that's what it was. And then we went, and we'd usually, if we had the money, we'd buy a candy bar or something. And I can always remember Roy's wife was a great lady, and she said there was 2 house rules that we had to abide by. One is you can't argue politics or you can't argue religion, and we honored her request. She was a nice lady. It's nice to think about those people. Now, as the valley changed and things changed as far as the methods of farming and so on, and so the Schultz's Crossing actually went out of use, didn't it?
Well, pretty much
Pretty
so,
much.
yeah.
But you remember the days yet when cheese factories took their cheese there.
That's right. This picture here now of the cheese loader, you had it, you showed it to me this morning.
Now, you said to me one day here that those were block Swiss.
Block Swiss.
Block Swiss.
Yeah.
Where were those, what factory did they come from?
Over here in this,
Staffacre.
Elmer.
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 That was a Staffacre
This
Elmer.
was a Staffacre up here.
Okay,
This was Staffacre Elmer.
all right. Now, what's the center factory called? That was
Greene County Center.
Greene County Center. That's where Willie Rackley owns, or did own it anyway, I think. Did he live there?
Who?
Willie Rackley?
Oh, no, he does now.
He
Yeah.
does now, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trying to get my feet on the ground here. Actually, the Schultz's Crossing was, you might say, a neighborhood whistle stop. You didn't have a siding there. The train had to stop right on the main track, didn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There was never was a sidetrack there.
Yeah, because
There was at Stearns.
there was at Stearns, that's south part of it.
Yeah.
Now, how did they do that? If they were loading cheese in the train, could they drop off a back car and go on to Monroe, or how did they work that out?
They'd always, if there was cheese on the cheese loader, they'd stop and just put it
In the car.
In the car, yeah.
So there was a little time.
And the same way, whenever they brought any merchandise or anything, they set it off on the cheese loader and then
Okay.
go on.
So if you needed a barrel of salt or barrel of flour or some hardware or some nails or something, it wound up on the deck over at the crossing, and the farmers would come with their wagons and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this, do you know when they stopped using the depot, or the whatever you want to call it, the little side building over there?
I couldn't say.
Probably 30s around, you think?
Very close.
Yeah.
But it was, I had, at that time, I had a Fortune tractor, and we pulled the depot up there where it is now.
Okay, we're going to stop. I want to show him the building after a while and so on. Now, I suppose some of that cheese and that would have come down from the Staffacre factory too, wouldn't it?
Yes, well,
Staffacre,
Staffacre, and this one here, and Marty's over here, Geigel's.
Okay.
And Phelps, and Phelps.
Phelps, okay. All those little factories around here. And of course, Bill, Dr. Bill Hine is historian, and they are now in the process of trying to unsnarl where all these factories are, and there were, what, 250 to 300 of them in 1907, I believe.
Probably in 1910 there were 213 in Greene County. Now we have totally, and Doran Zweigert has been doing the research, has dredged up over 600 in the state line area. And I'm sure we have over 300 in Greene County alone.
Yeah.
And we'll never find them all.
Oh, no.
Some of them were only in business a couple of years. And
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, just like at one time down here at the Whitworth place, where the barn is, they had a cheese cellar there.
Was that right?
In part of that barn, there was a cheese cellar, but sometimes at that time, everybody made their own cheese
Sure.
and stored it in that cellar there.
we talked to Wally Spike yesterday, and he was telling us he had a heck of a time playing hooky from school, because both the cheese factory and the school are right across the road from his house. So,
That's right.
Well, you know, the thing has changed so, and the valley here now has quite a few beef cattle, and not nearly as much dairy as they used to be. And it was a good, actually, it was good land for dairying. Like some dairy fellows said, they need some land that isn't all expensive. They need some for pasture.
That's right.
And even I know Wally felt in his steer operation when he had the southern part of his place. He said, well, some of that land has a good purpose. You can run your cattle out there. So that has changed. And from the little farm, and I was reading an article today from an old Times article how they did when the Swiss people came here, they used mattocks and hoes and started digging around these hills. And of course now we have the modern equipment, which is, and you folks have it too. You have what, 3-4 farms that you're working now?
We only got this place here. The rest of them are all pretty much done.
Sure. Well, he is a good lad. I enjoyed always working with Don and so on, and he's a guy that doesn't leave the grass grow under his feet. He's doing a fine job.
He puts in too many hours.
Yeah, well, I know. He's young yet, and someday that'll slow up a little bit, but he's strong.
No.
Yeah. Well, now, Eunice, you've got to tell me a little about your family. Now, you had a grandfather that was a cheesemaker.
That's right. My grandfather was Fred Leffer.
Okay.
He made cheese for 47 years in Greene County.
He did, in various factories.
Well, I found out in how many different factories. I have a cousin that lives in Albany, Madeline Atkinson. She was Madeline Leffer, and I called her this morning, and we thought that he made cheese at 8 different factories.
Is that right?
Over the 47 years.
Now, you're talking about Atkinson. Is that relation to Boyd?
Well, yeah, they're cousins. Madeline's husband is Robert Atkinson.
Okay, I've heard of him many times.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Atkinsons are quite prominent in Albany.
Yeah,
and,
Albany area, and
I
that's
know
where Grandpa made cheese and then around that area.
all around Albany.
Is that a list of his factories there?
Yeah, I'm gonna see.
Will you read them for us?
Yeah, oh, we decided he worked at made cheese in the Davis factory, the Comstock, Silver, English Settlement, McDermott, and Reener, and Atherton, I never heard of that one before, and Carroll Cheese Factory. And that was up between Monticello and Highway C, they call it, County Highway C.
Okay, all right.
There was a factory that, he didn't stay long, they didn't stay long in the factory years ago. No, and he moved around a lot, and that was the ones that we decided he made cheese in over the 47 years that he made cheese.
You showed me his picture. He was a handsome man.
Oh, yeah, that big picture there, I think that's a big
He was
picture.
a very distinguished looking old gentleman.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, yeah, he
quite
was
nice.
a nice looking man.
And then the lady on the back was his wife, huh?
Yeah, married.
Mary.
No, Marie, I think it's Mary was her name.
Now, where did he retire?
Albany.
In Albany.
In Albany.
Okay. His name was what?
Fred.
Fred Leffel.
And he had 10 children. He raised 10 children in his cheese factory.
That's amazing, yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, years ago, sometimes they did have larger families.
And money was not, there was not much of it, but they made do, didn't
Yeah,
they?
that's right. That's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, have you some more that you can tell me? I know you're interested in the history of the valley and so on, and most of this area, might say 30, 40, 50 years ago, was almost all dairy in here, wasn't it, Dutch Hollow?
All dairy. There was no beef. When I was a young girl.
Ben Fell started the
First beef.
Yes, that's right. I think that's true, because I remember he had some holdings in, is it Dakota or Nebraska?
Yeah.
Dakotas?
Yeah.
In fact, I think he used to have some cattle that he either took from there to here or back the other way around. I don't know how that was, but it was.
I don't know about Dakota, but he went to Billings, Montana, and bought cattle.
Okay.
A lot of times.
And then he'd run them for
He come
feed
through on the
out.
railroad, then we unloaded them up here at Stearns.
Okay, and then he'd feed them out,
Yeah.
and so on. So that was another aspect. Doesn't have much to do with the dairy industry, but yet it's part of our history in this area.
Yeah.
And see, the Felts before that, they must have gone into beef what in the 30s,
Oh, yes.
because that was originally a dairy farm too. Ben's father was a
When was
dairyman.
When was the cheese factory built up here? He didn't, I don't think they ever hauled milk up there.
Elston, well, he was a member, and he had stockholder, he was a share member in the factory.
Yeah, because he had the other farm, old Saxa farm. and
Oh, yeah, the Saxa factory, and then he had White's, or when in the White lived, that was his farm too, down below the cheese factory there, it's below that hill there. They made, he hauled milk from them two farms.
Well, now you mentioned, Lester, there's quite a few small factories. There was one, what, across the road here years ago?
Yeah, right up where the pit is now, where what it stores his feed, you know.
Okay.
Right in that
That
corner
was,
there.
that was in the north part of Dutch Hollow, and that was the Elmer and Staffaker factory.
Traffic, Elmer, they call it.
Yeah, and then of course the one up at the south end of Dutch Hollow, that was Staffaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was over those Felts, they were just a little bit north, and then there was Geigel. Out in this
Okay.
area.
And Marty over here.
Yeah.
Oh, Marty's right back.
Marty's
over.
across,
Yeah,
yes.
they were over around there.
So we
Right in
kind
the
of,
Chava area.
I got some of it together.
Yeah.
I didn't know the names of all these old
Yeah,
factories,
yeah.
of course, and
Well, when they sold, Lester's dad sold the land to Dean County Center Cheese Factory, that took care of the Geigel factory and the Felt factory. Those two were closed then. That's what they said, that's what was said in the paper when I read it today, it was the the Felt and the Geigel factory were closed then. That's why they built the Dean County Center.
well, of course, that changed then. Pretty soon they had fellas coming in with trucks.
Oh.
And first we had hauled it ourselves when we had those beautiful 30-gallon or whatever, 240, 50-pound things. Well, those were heavy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got into the 10-galloners, as we used to call them, and then they had in the cheese factories, they had those steam washing machines, and they'd run the cans through. And then, of course, later on, once they got into the bulk, it was a lot easier to handle. It's a different world.
Milk coolers in the barn.
Yeah.
Everybody had a milk cooler.
Well, Schultz's Crossing was quite a place. I always remembered Stearns Crossing and Schultz Crossing. These were all a part of the original, and the original part of this valley. Then another thing that I always thought was kind of interesting was I showed Bill on the way down is Rudy's Hill.
Oh, yes, that's where that there hill is where we used to go and play as kids a lot, because that's where it belonged to my folks' farm, see? And us kids would go back up there and play, and they had these windflowers that we'd go every spring to hunt for those windflowers. They called them windflowers. And about the spring of the year, they'd come and bloom.
That's the Pasque flower,
Yeah,
French for Easter.
Is that, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we call
that's
it,
what it is.
windflowers.
That's the they call them the harbinger of spring. I have a ceremony every year. I go over to Morale Prairie and look at them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they're still there. There
Are
are
they?
a few. Yes, there are a few around in places where there isn't pastured a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They'll still be around. And now, of course, with the conservancy, the prairie conservancies and so on, they are actually keeping some of that. And of course, one of the things that I always thought was very unusual, and it was good, that our very conservative Greene County Board purchased Morale Prairie for us, and that was very unusual. And I know I remember talking to one of the fellows. Well, I says it won't make 150 bushels per acre, but it is something well worth preserving, and I'm glad they did.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think this Rudy Hill now, that is all in federal wildlife, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Because we see turkeys. The other day I counted 30 wild turkeys go across here and go over there. They go over there almost all day long, and they'll come back at night behind the hill with them.
Did you know Manuel Elmer ever?
Oh, yes.
You knew him?
Yeah. See, my folks bought the farm from the old Elmers, which would have been Manuel's folks.
Yes.
And then we called her Grandma Elmer, which would have been Manuel's mother and dad. They had a little house just a little south from us, right on the same farm. And then after the old man, old John Elmer died, then Dan always used to go up there and take care of what we call Grandma Elmer. That would have been Manuel's mother. And Manuel came over to visit her a lot, and us kids would always be up there whenever Manuel come, because we thought a lot of Manuel, because he was really nice to us kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other little family, we never cared if they didn't come, because Manuel always would bring us a treat, you know, when he'd come in on. So, you know, of course we were all little kids at that time, and we enjoyed Manuel when he came.
See, they both lived to be over 100 years old.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he was, a professor in the East.
Yeah, in
Then he was-
Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. Well, then he was also quite interested in conservation of forests.
Oh, yes.
In his book, he mentions
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, Lester, you spent your life here. Where did you folks meet? I suppose in Dutch Hollow.
Yeah. Both went to Dutch Hollow School. And we had the one teacher together.
She was in the first grade and I was in the 8th grade.
Okay.
First and second I was. Yeah, we had Yolanda, well, she was Yolanda Elmer, and she married the Richards, but that was our teacher. And her Yolanda Elmer was, Daniel would have been an uncle of hers,
Okay.
see, because her dad was J.P. Elmer.
I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Yolanda was our teacher, and she walked from back over here with her folks lived back over around the hill here, from maybe about a mile back, and she used to walk back and forth.
My uncle, she used to walk to
School.
when she taught school. She walked from back there over
Yeah.
there to the schoolhouse.
Well, that goes back some
Quite a
time.
few years, you know,
Yeah.
because she was, 18 years old, and Lester was 14.
And then there's, this guy sometimes has been known as Be Shorty, but an old fellow told me he was a mighty mean football player years ago.
I guess
He
that's
said,
right.
You know, I don't know if you remember John Van Wagner.
yeah.
He used to call me Bronco Nogurski. That was a Minnesota football player.
I knew him.
Yeah.
He lived up on Rainy Lake.
Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah.
Well, they always said that you had to watch out for Lester Witt's or Shorty's shoulders, because they're pretty wide.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice, and you actually made a decision between your father and you not to go to school and actually you wanted to farm, didn't you?
I guess so. I don't know. They were down here. I can remember when they came for university and asked me to, they wanted me to come up there and play football, I suppose. I don't know, about that time I was young and Dad promised me a new car and that's the way
That
it
was
went.
Yeah. What kind of a car was it?
What kind of a car? That was a yellow sports, a Buick sports coupe with a rumble seat.
Oh, boy. Now,
No wonder.
Yeah, I got a picture of it. so-
say if you had that car today, wouldn't that be a mint?
Yeah.
Earl Sweegle, you remember Earl Sweegle? Looked like he came from New Glarus.
But he
He
played for
played basketball in Monroe. That was the main reason why he came. And he had, mine was what they called the little six at that time. He had a big six, or a big Buick than what mine was.
But didn't his dad have a garage up at theirs?
Yeah.
Well, those were classic automobiles. They were pretty. Eunice, didn't you have a lot of competition with that then, and have him?
Not too much, I don't think.
No, that's all right. That's
Yeah.
nice. Well, can you tell me any more of the history of the Valley, Eunice, that you know of that we don't?
Well, we can remember when the first schoolhouse burned that I went to. The first school burned.
Where was that then?
That was back I was in 1925. But yeah, because I started school in 24. And then that Christmas, wasn't it during the Christmas or New Year's? Around Christmas or New Year's it burned, didn't it? Yeah, it burned. Yeah, it was right after the holidays anyway. And then we had to go to school down in the town church. That's where we went to school to finish our year out. And then in the summertime, they tore wasn't it the church down? Tore the church down, and then they built a new schoolhouse, the second schoolhouse here in Dutch Island.
Well, we always called the cemetery up here Schultz Cemetery. I don't know.
Oh,
if
you
that-
did?
Yeah, that's what I was told to call it
Oh.
by, but I don't know if that's the proper name. But
Well, not
Dutch Hollow Cemetery. is
Dutch
over
Hollow
there.
is right.
I've never heard of Dutch House Cemetery. And then they had the church, the parsonage, and the schoolhouse right down here in the valley here.
okay, on which side of the road then?
That would be as you come down a cemetery. It was on the left.
On the same side as the
West
cemetery?
side.
On the west
West
side.
side, yeah,
Okay.
west side. It was
All
on
right.
the left-hand side.
Schoolhouse, church, everything was on the west side.
Well, that was fun talking to you folks. I thought we should have done this a long time ago, but we enjoy talking to these folks. They are certainly a part of this valley, and thank you much, folks. That was fun.
That's pretty much the last part of it, I think.
That building set right, just about where the road is, right across the tracks here is where that building originally sat.
Uh-huh.